morning, yogis. I can see a few of you guys have logged on already. And we're going to start in 2 minutes at 10 o'clock. So what you're going to need for this class this morning is a mat if you have one, and if you don't, a blanket on the floor would be perfect. So if you cover your mat with something comfortable too, because we stay on the floor for the entire class. Also, if you can hear me, just let me know so I know that the mic is working this morning. This is an all levels yin yoga class. We're primarily going to focus on the hips this morning, although we will be bringing the spine through the normal back bending and forward bending as well. Perfect. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Linda. So when you're ready, it's a bolster-free class because a lot of people don't have bolsters. But if you don't have any yoga blocks, if you can just grab a couple of books, and you just might like to rest your hand on them for some of the poses. So whenever you're ready, we'll get started. So come to a comfortable seated position. And so we'll just rest your eyes, just close them gently. And just take this time just to check in. So how are you feeling this morning? Physically, what sensations make up your experience? Energetically, how do you feel? Emotionally, mentally, just checking in. And so there's no judgment here, just awareness. What is your full experience right now? And then resting your awareness on your breath. So just noticing firstly, where do you feel the breath the most? What is the quality of your breath this morning? The quality of the inhalation and the quality of the exhalation. And just continue to follow your breath for the next 4 rounds of breath. Noticing the inhale, the natural pause between the breaths, the exhalation, and that natural pause. And just using your breath to bring you into this present moment, to help anchor you here. And then we just take a moment to set an intention for the practice this morning. So this can be personal or more universal. So just bring that to the forefront of your mind. And then we make our way into our first yin pose. So we're starting with our long-legged butterfly this morning. So the feet will be together, keeping them in contact with each other, and then just move them away from the body as much as you can. Feel your sit bones on the ground. And from here, bring your hands to the side of your hips, lengthen. So lift yourself up. So you're lifting the rib cage away from the pelvis. So you're creating space to fold forward. So as you fold forward, you could take your hands on top of your feet or underneath your ankles. And there's an option to release the head to the floor here, but only if that's comfortable. So you could keep it lifted if you choose to. So in this pose, our focus will be the back of the body. You may be feeling a little bit into the hips and the inner thighs as well. So just check in. So if you're new to Yin, we hold the poses for between 1 minute and 5. And I don't like to really think of it as holdings, because we're not trying to hold our muscles here, but we just stay in the poses for that length of time. And so the first thing we do is when we arrive in the shape, we just notice, where do you feel the most sensation? And so in Yin, we call that our edge. And so we find our edges, check in with them, and as much as we can, we try and soften into them. So in Yin, we're trying to bypass the big muscle groups from contracting. And so the poses are quite passive. But we come to that place where we're stressing a little bit. So what our real intention is to work into the connective tissue, the fascia, the ligaments, the joints. So just notice the sensations you're feeling. You might be feeling it like a dull, achy sensation. But if you do notice any nerve-like pain, any sort of electrical pulses or sharpness, move and back out of the pose. So we find your edge, but come to a place that you know you'll be able to soften into and breathe easily. And if you've come a little bit too far, you can back out a little bit. And if you're not really feeling any sensation, just go a little bit deeper. So each pose will look different for each of our bodies. And even the most flexible person in the world will still have an edge. So breathing and softening into your edges. And noticing, does the sensation stay, excuse me, in the same place? Or does it move? Does the quality of the sensation stay the same? Is it easy to stay present with your physical experience? Or does the mind keep distracting you? And if so, we just use it as a practice of coming back. Each time we come to the mat, we'll be different. I've had different experiences during the day. And no matter how busy your mind is, just keep coming back to the present. And each time you notice it drifting away, excuse me, just keep coming back. We're just going to take 2 more breaths here in your long-legged butterfly. And then when you're ready, slowly, mindfully, just walking yourself back. You can take your hands to the floor here, legs nice and wide, and just gently rock the knees from side to side. Just easing out any holding. And we're going to come into a nice gentle back bend here before we really go deep into the hips. So this was our Yin Sphinx. So come all the way down onto your belly. We'll take our feet a little wider than we would in regular yoga for Sphinx pose. This is just reminding us to relax the buttocks. And we'll bring our elbows underneath your shoulders here. So when you arrive in the pose first, just notice, is this too intense for my body? So our focus is going to be more your lumbar spine here. But if you're finding this is just a little bit too deep, you can take your elbows a little wider or take your arms out. You can take your hands onto your upper arms here and just bring them in front of your shoulders. And that will release a little bit of that lumbar spine stretch. But if you come here and you're a regular backbender and you're not feeling your sensation, you haven't arrived at your edge, you have the option of either lifting your elbows up just a little bit and just really softening into the lumbar spine, focusing on what you feel, Or you could, if you've got your blocks or your books, place them underneath your forearms here too. And that will give you a little bit of a lift. So just bearing in mind that we will be here for a couple of minutes. So come to a place that you can soften into and remain still. And then just focus on what you're feeling. You could keep your head lifted here, but you have the option of dropping the head as we're not working into the neck. That's not our focus. That's one of the lovely things about Yin too. We can really focus on our target muscles, or not muscles, but areas in the body. So just breathing and softening into your experience. Just doing a little body scan here, just noticing, is anywhere else in your body beginning to grip or hold? And if so, can you soften? And we'll take 4 more breaths here. Just breathing into your edge. Breathing into the sensations you're feeling. And then we'll bend your elbows and slowly lower the upper body to the floor here. And once it arrives, turn your head so that the left ear is on the floor, and then slide your right knee up towards your right elbow. And just take a moment just to soften and release. So when we move out of the yin postures, this is often the time when we feel the most sensation. There's a rebound effect in the body. So it's important we take a moment just to relax or come to some neutral position in between. This pose is probably a little bit too comfortable for this early in the morning. So we'll stretch out and go to the other side because there's a temptation to stay there quite a while. We'll bring your right ear to the floor and bend your left knee, bring it up towards your left elbow, and just settle for a moment. And just enjoy this shape in your body. And then slide that left leg back. We'll take your hands underneath your shoulders. And just for one breath, just press your hips back towards your heels. Feel the length in your spine. And then we'll make our way into a baby dragon. So take your right foot forward, and the right knee is lined up with the right ankle. And then walk your left leg back as far as you can. So if this is uncomfortable for you, even with that extra padding on the mat, you can always double over your blanket and place it underneath your left knee. Once you arrive here, you could use the blocks underneath your hands, or you can place your hands on the floor if that's comfortable. You've also options to drop your head. And we're going to stay here for 3 minutes. So as much as you can, just soften and arrive. Just noticing what shows up here.
So we're targeting the back of the leg, the right leg, around our hamstrings and the fascia there. And then the front of the left thigh and hip, so the hip flexor and quadriceps. So again, if you're not feeling any sensation after a breath or two, you can move a little bit deeper. And then soften, let the shoulders move away from the ears. Breathe into your experience. And we'll just take one more breath here. Inhale. And as you exhale, we can make our way up into a high dragon. So hands can be resting interlaced on your thighs here. We won't stay here too long, so just relax your shoulders down the back. And if you're finding it's a little unsteady this morning to be here, you can come back into your baby dragon for the next 2 minutes. So again, notice as you change shape, if you have arrived here, and notice how the sensations may move in the body where you're feeling it. And again, really focusing on softening. As there's a little bit of balance here, you may find it's a little harder to soften. Just breathing into the sensations you're feeling. And we'll just take 4 more breaths in and out here. And then take your hands to the floor. And then you can let that right knee fall out to the right hand side so you can come onto the knife edge of the foot. If this isn't comfortable for you, you can keep the full sole of the foot on the floor, but just turn it out to about 45-degree angle. You have the option of grabbing your blocks and placing them underneath your arms here, or you can just keep your hands on the floor, or if it's accessible, you can come down onto 1 forearm or 2 forearms. But just keeping in mind that we will be here for just a little while. You may be feeling this more on the inner thigh, inner hip. Just breathing into what you're feeling. Is it possible to relax your shoulders away from your ears? Blending your awareness, the sensations that you're feeling in the physical body and your breath. Notice after we stay here for a while, can you still feel your edge? Is it possible to go a little bit deeper for the last minute? And then from here, we walk our hands back and we'll come into another pose on this side, our, in our yin pigeon, often known as swan. So we take the right knee just behind the right wrist here. And if you can, if the hip is open enough, you can take that left leg forward a little bit. If that is really uncomfortable for the knee, take it right into the center and just bring the heel behind the knee. Otherwise, from here, this is a little variation on our regular pigeon. What we're going to do is we're not using a bolster. We'll take the right hip to the floor, even if it means that you're tilting over to the right a little bit. Then look behind you at your left leg. See if you can walk the knee behind the hip and the ankle behind the knee. Even if you're tipping over to the right side here, bring your finger pads to the floor, lengthen from the base of your spine. And as you exhale, pour the body over. You can bring the forearms to the mat here if it's comfortable. You've also the option to use your books or your blocks just to rest your forehead on. And then we settle here. Take the shoulders away from the ears. You could actually stack your hands and just rest your head down too. This is quite nice because there's still space for your breath. Relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. And letting your awareness rest on your right sit bone. And begin to draw the sit bone back towards the back of the mat as you let the left hip bone on the front drop down towards the mat here. So this can be such a small movement that you wouldn't see it on the outside, but it's just like an inner focus, and it helps you to get deeper into the glute muscles, the buttocks, and the hips here. We'll just take one more minute here. Just breathing into the sensations that you're feeling in the buttocks, the hips, the thigh. Just noticing, is it easy or difficult to stay really present? And we'll just take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, we begin to walk the hands back a little here. We'll come into a little bit of a counter stretch for the right leg. So if you take your right leg forward, you can flex the foot. We're not going too deep here. Just begin to turn the toes back towards your hip. We get a nice stretch here in the back of the knee and the hamstrings and the calf. We'll just take 3 full breaths in and out here. And then we'll take your right leg back behind you and we'll bring your left leg forward so the left knee is over the ankle, and take your hands to the floor here for a baby dragon. So toes facing the front of the mat. Come to a place maybe you can walk your right leg back to as far as comfortable for you so you can feel sensations in the front of that right thigh. And then we'll relax into this here. 3 minutes. That option to drop your head. Let the shoulders move away from the ears. Breathe into your experience. And just one more breath in here, inhale. And as you exhale, walk your hands up onto your thigh, only if you did this on the other side. Otherwise, you can stay that little bit longer in your baby dragon. And as we lift ourselves up, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. So it may encourage a deeper bend, a deeper lunge here. So again, notice whether you need to adjust so that you can stay here, or if you can stay here, soften into it. So as much as we can in our yin class, we're trying to bypass those big muscle groups that are constantly contracting. Although in some of the poses we are definitely contracting some of the big muscle groups. So there's no completely yin class or yang class, but our focus is to bypass them. That's why we don't warm up when we start. Once we warm up, then the big muscle groups get into play and then they fire off straight away when we're practicing. So just soften into what you're feeling here. If you're new to yin as well, you might find that you're very uncomfortable in some of the poses. You sort of get used to it. It very much is a practice. The more you do it, the easier it is to soften into. We'll take one more deep breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Take both of your hands down onto the floor on the inside of your right leg, left leg even. And then from here you can come onto the outer edge of that left foot and let the knee come out to the side. And again, if you didn't do that on the other side and you had the foot on the floor, you can turn it out 45 degrees, walk it out a little wider. So just come to a place that's comfortable for you to stay here, soften into. Hands can be on the floor, forearms on the floor, or one hand and one forearm. So loads of options for you this morning. Once you take the left knee out to the side, just stay present with what you're feeling. Just breathing into the sensations you're feeling. And then when you're ready, slowly, mindfully making your way up. So we're making our way into our yin swan, also known as pigeon in regular yoga. We'll take that left knee behind the left wrist if that feels okay. And if you can walk your left foot forward. If that is uncomfortable for the knee, you're feeling sort of sharp sensations around the knee joint, take the knee right into the center. You're still going to get a stretch into your hip. From here, we'll let that left buttock come to the floor. So especially for me, that's lifting my right hip, which we're usually looking to align the hips. But then look behind you, take your knee behind your hip and your ankle behind your knee. turn the upper body to face the front of your mat. You're going to lift and lengthen from the base of your spine. And as you exhale, pour the body over into your swan. Options to bring your head fully to the floor here. Stay up on your forearms. You could bring a block down, which can be quite nice too if you have one, or a few books, just to rest your head on here. And then once you arrive, just notice, do you feel sensation in your body at all? And if you need to go a little deeper, draw that left sit bone back towards the back of the mat. Right hip bone forward and down, and then soften. And you can continue to do this until you find sensation, and then soften. Just breathing into what you're feeling here. Shoulders away from the ears. And keeping your jaw soft. So just one more breath in here, inhale. And as you exhale, slowly, mindfully begin to walk your upper body up, and we'll take your left leg forward again for that little counter stretch. Taking the toes back towards your body here, stretching into the back of the knee, the hamstrings and the calf and the ankle here. And so now we're going to make our way into a wide-legged forward fold. So take your legs as wide as you can. You can also sit on a little rolled up blanket here too if it's not comfortable to sit straight down, sit bones on the floor. We'll start by just taking your fingertips to the floor beside your hips and again lifting yourself up like we did for our butterfly. So rib cage up out of the pelvis to create a bit of space. And as you exhale, you can begin to pour the body over. So our focus is to fold from your hip crease, so not the mid back. So you can even bring your thumbs into your hip crease. That's where the thighs meet the hips. And then inhale, lengthen from the base of your spine. Exhale, fold. And then continue to do this for a few breaths. Inhale, lengthen, create space. Exhale, folds. And then whenever you have found your edge, you can just soften and rest into it. Let go of any holding in the legs. You're not pushing or pressing out through the heels. And then just coming to a place, just closing your eyes. So don't worry about what the outer pose looks like. This very much is a focus of what it feels like. So breathing into your experience. And then as we stay here, you can just notice if tension or holding is beginning to creep in anywhere. And then just focus on softening into that. And shoulders away from the ears. And the jaw is soft. Just notice what parts of your body are stopping you moving deeper into this shape. So where is the wall of resistance? And then just rest your awareness there. Just breathing in and out of that resistance. And we'll take 3 more full breaths in and out here. And then when you're ready, slowly, mindfully walking your hands back. You could take your feet back in. We'll windscreen wiper them. So feet on the floor, just let the knees move easily from side to side. And then we're going to bring ourselves all the way down onto the floor. Sorry, just keep an eye on the time. Super. So coming into a lying down twist. So back of the head is on the floor, nice and comfortable. we will take your left leg over your right leg. So you're going to hug the thighs together. Now, if this is uncomfortable, the modification is to just keep your legs side by side. Otherwise, left leg over your right leg. You can single or double wrap. So if the ankles are flexible, you can wrap the foot around the lower leg as well. Once we're here, we'll lift the hips up a little bit and then scoot them over 2 inches to the right, place them back down. We'll open our arms into a nice, soft, open cactus. So the arms are bent at the elbows, back of the hands on the floor. And if you find that the shoulders are lifting off the floor here, just take your arms a little bit wider until you find that you can relax them on the floor. We'll take a breath in, and as you breathe out, just let the legs fall to the right-hand side. So you're not pushing or pressing, you're just allowing. And then when they settle, you have this option with the head, either to keep the head right in the center and close your eyes, or we lift the head up, turn the gaze slightly to the left, and then place it back down again. Close your eyes. Just arriving into your experience. Twisted root. Grounding down through the shoulders and upper arms. And just paying attention to what the twist shows up for you. So what areas do you feel it working through the body? Just one more breath in here, inhale. Exhale, we'll take the legs back up first and then unwrap them. Bring the feet to the floor and then scoot the hips right back into the midline and let the hips arrive back on the floor. Just check in. And then we'll do the other side. So lift your right leg, wrap the thigh over your left, single or double wrap. Press down into your foot to lift the hips, scoot them 2 inches to the right this time and rest them back on the floor. And then allow the legs to drop to the left-hand side. You have the options to keep the head in the center or lift the head, turn the gaze slightly to the right, place the head back down, and then just close your eyes again. And then just take one more breath in here. Inhale. Exhale, bring the legs back, unwrap them. Place the feet on the floor, lift the hips back up, bring them right back into the midline here. Bring your arms down by your side for a moment, and we're just going to lift up into a little counter stretch, just into our bridge pose. Press into your feet, just lift the hips up. We'll just squeeze the buttocks at the top. Sometimes to completely relax, we need to completely contract, and then just release them slowly to the floor. Coming into our final pose of our practice, Ananda Valasana, happy baby. So you have two options here. You can take your hands behind your thighs and just draw the knees in towards your shoulders. And as you do this, notice, can you keep the sacrum, that flat part of your lower back, the bony part on the floor here. And then just take the soles of the feet to point up towards the ceiling, like you're trying to make some footprints on the ceiling. You can stay here, this is one option, or you can bring your elbows on the inside of your knees and hold onto the outside of your feet. We'll let the shoulders and the head of the arm bones drop down towards the floor. Then make sure that the back of the neck is long, there's no tension in the neck or the jaw. And then you can close your eyes and breathe deeply into your belly, expanding on the inhale and softening on the exhale. We'll just take 2 more full breaths here, breathing deeply into the belly, expanding. Exhale, softening. And then we'll bring your knees all the way into your chest. And we'll hug them in, wrapping your arms around your legs. And as you do this, feel the back of the body pressing into the floor. We'll take one more breath here. And as you exhale, lift your head, chin to chest, nose towards your knees. Hold it there, squeeze and tighten everything, feet, hands, and face. And then soften, exhale, coming into Shavasana. Final relaxation. And hopefully you're relaxed anyway throughout the class, so you can just deepen it now by stretching the legs out fully, letting the feet fall out to the side, lifting the shoulders, taking them away from the ears, arms away from the body, palms up, fingers lightly curled. If this doesn't feel right for your lower back, you can take your feet nice and wide on the mat and let the knees fall in towards each other so you're not holding the hips or legs here. So consciously giving the full weight of your body to the floor. Not resisting, not holding, but softening and letting go. And as you settle into this still place, giving the body time just to absorb, integrate the benefits of your practice. I will bring a little bit of a drum beat in for you. So as you relax into this space, just feeling the sensation of the body surrendering, relaxing, and letting go. Listening to the drum beat.
Just begin to invite a deeper breath into your body. Begin to introduce some movement back into your hands, your feet, maybe your neck and your head as well. And taking a full body stretch, whatever way feels right for your body right now. And then with the feet on the floor, we roll gently onto your left side. You can just use your left hand as a pillow here and settle in for this morning's reading. This is from Journey to the Heart. Acknowledge your fears. I never knew how afraid I was. Maybe I was even too afraid to look at my fears. People speak of facing fears, of not being afraid of fear, of working through fear. How do we do that? Try this technique recommended to me by a healing professional. Take out a sheet of paper and a pencil and write down everything you fear. Take as much time as you need. Let it roll out. Don't be afraid of what you see. Some of your fears may be unknown. Write as much as you can about those too. We don't need to list everything we need to do about each fear. All we need to do is acknowledge honestly what we fear. Once we do, the way will become clear. Acknowledging our fears will give us power. Acknowledging our fears will help set us free. Often it moves us to the next place. It is the barrier we need to pass through. Although some of our fears may be real, may be grounded in reality, facing them won't make us more afraid. Facing our fears won't cause us more pain. Facing fears will bring us peace and power. The truth isn't the enemy. Fear of the truth is the enemy. Be gentle with yourself. Let yourself have your fears and let yourself face them. Having the wisdom to face the truth will bring us closer and closer to peace. And when you're ready, slowly, mindfully, bring yourself to a comfortable seated position. And so once we arrive here, we'll take our hands at heart center in prayer, Anjali Mudra. Just resting your awareness at the base of your spine. As you inhale, lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of your head. And as you exhale, first bow to yourself and to each other. Namaste. And thank you so much, guys, for getting up on a Sunday morning and joining me for this yin practice. This class is a free class, but it's also we are also doing it for charity as well. It's part of the Virtual Summer Wellness series. And if you want some more information about that, if you check out Resolute Pilates on Facebook. So I'm going to add it in the comments underneath anyway, because every Sunday during July, there's going to be a class at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the next one is Gemma Dini, and she's doing it via Zoom. So the details will be up in below. And so thank you very much, my class. All proceeds are going to Focus Ireland, and I know many of you have actually donated very generously. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining me.